I know, I've been there.
Testing,
Yeah,
1, 2.
right inside.
1, 2, testing.
All I need is fish cake, perfect, fish cake.
Okay, ready?
But that's all the way, it's down on the south side, yeah. Yeah, so I just take 80 to Marshall. Oh, no, we live right over here across the street, so I'll have to go.
Okay, sorry, we're a little bit past time. The time is 6:36, and I'm calling this meeting of the Marion County GOP County Executive Committee to order. If everybody could go ahead and please stand for the opening prayer. Secretary Beauchamp, could you please open us up in a word of prayer?
Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this time together. We just thank you for this season that we're in. We thank you for the reason for this whole season. And we just ask that you just pour your spirit out in this community and that you just bring revival into this body. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. If you'll remain standing for the pledges, we're going to pledge the American flag and then the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now for the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. You may be seated. All right. Okay, before we proceed, I'm just going to do something a little bit out of, I think it's just, I might have wrote this down wrong. Let's go ahead and do the roll call, Secretary, if you could, please.
Precinct 1.
Here.
Precinct 2, here, David Beauchamp. Precinct 3.
Here.
Chairman Bonner.
Yes, here.
Ken Tomlinson sent me an email, said that he would be out.
Yeah, he's out of town.
I have not heard from anyone else.
Okay, all right. Well, we do have a quorum established, so with that being said, we're going to go ahead and proceed on with the meeting. So first of all, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming to the Marion County. This is our fourth quarter County Executive Committee meeting. Going forward, I'm just going to say CEC because it's 6:30, but it feels like 9:30 outside, and I'm getting tired. Okay, so, but we want to thank you for coming. This is, for those of you who have never been to one of these meetings, this is basically the business meeting of the local Marion County Republican Party. And so the CEC is made up of myself as chairman, and of course, these are the precinct chairs. And so we represent the different voting districts. There's 10 of them in Marion County. And we have at least 3 of them that are represented here tonight. And of course, I'm at large. So want to thank you all for coming. We have some elected, we do have some elected officials here. Want to welcome Judge Weesner is back there. So thank you for coming tonight. I appreciate that. We thank you so much for coming out on this evening. I know it's dark, it's dreary, but at this time, we're going to go ahead and move on with our agenda. First of all, we had the previous meeting minutes. Secretary Beauchamp, you emailed that out a number of weeks ago. So does anybody have anything that they needed to amend on that?
No, I made one change on it.
Yeah.
Way back when you sent it.
No.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to accept the meeting minutes from anybody.
Second.
So moved, and it's been seconded by Mr. Beauchamp. All in favor, say aye. Aye. None opposed, motion carries. Okay, so we have some special speakers here tonight. Now, what we're going to do is, I know that they're listed in this certain order, but if there's no objection, we have our first candidate that's going to be speaking tonight, and wow, that's great. So first of all, this is going to be Michael Weesner. He is a candidate for county treasurer that's filed recently, and so Michael Weesner, if you want to come on up and just kind of introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about yourselves, and why you're running, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Welcome everybody on this cold, drizzly evening. Selling myself has always been hard to do. I have worked for businesses where I've sold products and that business, and it's easy. Selling something is a lot easier than talking about oneself. Being self-absorbed is something that I struggle with. But I will do my best tonight, and then if you guys have any questions, sometimes that's easier to open up conversation. I'm happy for that as well. My background is in banking, customer service, retail, and I am currently a small business owner. I have almost 13 years in the financial industry, working for the largest employee-owned bank in the state of Texas. Started with the company as a retail banker right out of school. Entered into their management training program very quickly, and worked my butt off and excelled very easily. At 24 years old, I became an officer of the company, the youngest in the company's history. That doesn't come from somebody who sits on their hands. That comes from someone who gives a damn about what they do and wants to succeed. And I did, and I do. When I heard about who was going to run against, or not run against, but run for treasurer, there's only one other person running, and she is not here tonight. That person, in my opinion, was not qualified to do so. There are differences between us. She does advertise 10 years in the banking experience, but our banking background is very different. I wish she were here so that we could talk about these things together. So I will just say this. You definitely have a choice between two different people. One has a strong background in leadership, a background that has been proven time and time again. As a county treasurer, you are your own boss. You don't have someone to come in every day and give you an agenda. You don't have someone that's going to follow up behind you to make sure that your job is done every day. You're responsible for that. The county commissioners, the county judge set forward the job and the tasks of the county treasurer, and that job has to be followed, but it has to be executed flawlessly. It's not just about paying the bills of the county. It's about making sure that our employees are paid and paid on time. It's about making sure that their benefit payments are made so that their insurance stays current. It's about making sure that annual filings with the state and local governments are taken care of without error. It's about investing the county funds so that the county can maximize on return. I have visited with the current treasurer several times and the previous treasurer to learn more about the job. And I did that before I ever made the decision to run. My sister also used to work for the county treasurer's office as a part-time employee in that role. That was the first person I sat down and talked to. I said, hey, let's go for a walk one afternoon. And we did. And she said, I want you to do it. I want you to do it so bad. I think you would love it. I think you would be great at it. Of course she's going to say that. She's my sister, right? I'd be upset if she didn't. But she did, thankfully. So my next call was to BJ Westbrook, the current treasurer, and Terry, the previous treasurer, and Terry Newborn. And went and had lunch with them, discussed more of the job, the details of the job. And am I on a time limit or anything?
No, you're fine, you're fine.
To discuss the details and find out, is this something that I really want to do? Is this something that makes sense? And for my background, it does make sense. I have the organizational skills. I have the background in the fiscal responsibility. As a bank manager and a retail branch expansion manager, I was responsible every day for managing P&L statement. You have to look for those discrepancies. You have to know what is there that hits early before it becomes an issue later down the road. Mm-hmm. That's part of being the county treasurer. You work hand in hand with the county auditor. You guys have to have a good working relationship. You've got to be focused on your job every day, all day while you're there without distraction. Some people have asked me, okay, you're a small business owner. How are you going to focus on that job and this job? Where are you going to make your balance? Before I made this decision to run for county treasurer, I also sat down with my foreman and I asked him, what do you think about me doing this? Can we make this work without me being on the job all day, every day? The fact is, yes, we can, because we already do that. I am very involved in my business. I love it. I love being out on the ground. I love meeting my customers. I love taking care of their contracts, answering their questions, and doing their follow-ups when their job is done. Those are things I can still do as county treasurer. It's called balancing time. I can check jobs on Saturdays. I can, when you're a county treasurer, you set your office hours. I can set my office hours to work from 7 to 4 versus 8 to 5 and have, a couple hours in the afternoon to get out and do those types of things. There are ways to make things work when you want to make them work. And that's what I'll do. So as county treasurer, hey, I I didn't make a closing statement. I didn't really write a statement at all. I'm kind of an off-the-cuff kind of person. I'm not very scripted. I'm definitely not an actor. But I'll say this, I will work hard for Marion County. I'm a lifetime resident of this county. My grandparents moved here in the 60s and opened the 7-Eleven gas station for you folks that are from the area down here at Johnson Creek. The A-frame building next to it was a Tasty Freeze. That was my grandparents. They raised their family here. And it's where we've been for a long time, and I'm proud to call it home. So as your county treasurer, I will continue to call it home and continue to work for all of you guys.
Excellent. Anybody have any questions? Oh,
What is
Yes.
your current job right now?
So I
Your
own
business?
a foundation and leveling company. So we go in and we level houses,
Okay,
rid houses of rot, termite damage, all that good stuff.
okay, great, I mean, we may need you.
I never said that though, but
I
absolutely.
do also have a question. First of all, I do know some of your family background,
Mhm.
which is great,
Good deal.
because you do have a lot of history. I also know that Marion County is moving into some pretty significant financial situations, not the least of which is a $10 million grant that our current representative has supposedly secured for Marion County. And my understanding that over $5 million of those dollars will be going to a private industry, a private billion-dollar industry, Brookshire's. So I did a little bit of background. They're actually $2.7 billion industry. 2024 financials from a banker, they make just a little over $7 million a day. So as a banker, you had to look at the bottom line and where's the best bang for the buck. And I'm looking at private company that is receiving more than half of a grant, a 10% payback grant for a county that is in desperate need of every dollar spent to improve our delivery and infrastructure as far as water. Certainly the Tanner filtration plant. We have personally here at the lake, we have terrible water situation at Crestwood. And some people that have gone without water, they're still trucking water
It's been that way
to
for years.
Well, but
It's getting worse from what I hear.
of course, they haven't had to truck water in from NIMS. I mean, we've had residents that have literally been without water.
Right.
And do not have potable water. They have to rely on purchasing their water someplace else. My question to you is, are you going to be able to stand up to the hierarchy that is currently in place and say, we have to look at the overall bigger picture and where our dollars are going to best be spent?
So I'll say this, I'm not one to run from a question, and I'm not gonna do that, so I'll still give my opinion. As county treasurer, you're not as directly involved in the making of decisions as you would be as a county commissioner, county judge, for example. So as the treasurer, I can have a voice, but I do not get a vote per se in making that final decision. Yes, I will share my opinion. I've always been great about sharing an opinion, whether it's popular or not. I also believe this, your opinion should not be yours and yours alone. If the folks within a region that you are representing, which as county treasurer, you're countywide, is that of we should or shouldn't do something specific. So in this instance, you're asking, I think, why are we getting all this money for Jefferson to be able to expand and build
For
a
Marion
big
County.
Berkshires?
Right.
But why are we not getting this money out here for residents who are struggling with their water system, right?
Well, actually, why originally it was supposed to be a $6 million grant that Representative Dean had promised to the city of Jefferson the early part of this year, and then that changed to a $10 million grant a month ago to Marion County. And then I asked, is that in addition to the $6 million? And was told, no, actually it's Marion County. And then found out that there's a lot of people that don't know about it, but then found out, you know, that this is something that's happening to move a Brookshire's from the city tax rolls to the county tax rolls to accommodate their needs for
So they
wastewater.
From my understanding, the Brookshire's wanted a larger facility to be able
Right,
to provide
sure.
more products, a gas station, all that.
Right.
And so maybe, you know, we'll get a few more jobs out of that for the county too. It's not gonna be anywhere near enough to offset the grant by any means or the tax dollars.
But you
we're talking
understand they're
about.
gonna get paid for the
Absolutely.
customers using that gas station.
Absolutely.
They're not doing it for free.
No. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I had a question. Can you, because the Republican Party, so this is going to be partisan question. So, so can you explain a little bit about how your own personal voting history? Do you vote in primaries? Do you? I mean, most people vote in general elections, but do you vote in primaries? And if so, just to the best of your recollection, how many primaries have you voted in since you know, maybe recently or anything like that?
I just voted in the most recent election that took place with the about the water rights and all that stuff. What there were 10 amendments to
That was
the
the constitutional
amendments and all that. Of course, voted for. I vote regularly, and I
Oh,
love to
okay,
vote.
great.
So is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
If you ask what I voted on each time, that might be a little difficult. I will tell you, I vote as a Republican. I vote as a conservative. You ask me who I voted for president, for governor, got you. I voted for Greg Abbott. I voted for Donald Trump, all 3 times. It doesn't mean that we always agree 110% on what these people stand for, that we vote for, but we vote for the people who we feel is going to best represent us where it matters.
Good.
That we have to stick to that. My opponent, based on what I read on Facebook recently, was asked the question why she had not voted. And she literally said, and I probably should get it to quote it, but I took a screenshot of it when I read it. It says, "I didn't realize the importance of voting."
Wow.
But you're asking for a job that is going to be determined by the voters. Now you understand the importance of voting. That's interesting to me. Very interesting. Yes, ma'am.
My concern is modernization in Marion County as far as you being the treasurer and getting information and transparency out to the citizens of Marion County. Now, you've been in the banking business and you have a business and I'm sure you're up on computers, communication and all that stuff. Just as a recent board member on the hospital district, it's appalling how decrepit the technology infrastructure is in Marion County. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no interest in going to the Marion County website to try and find information. We just now in 2025 got the hospital district where they were posting meeting minutes and doing all the things that need to be done. It's 2025. All of this should be online. The citizens in a county should be able to go directly to the county, say, okay, here's a link to the budget. It shouldn't be a hunt and peck. It shouldn't be some kind of a prize because you managed to find the right link 3 things deep on a web page. Every agency in this county uses different software and technology. Are you going to make it to where Joe Blow out here can say, I heard they spent $500,000 on such and such. I want to know where it went.
So as a kid who grew up on technology, I think that's a great question. Because growing up in the 80s, as we went to school in the 90s and in the early, graduated in 2001 from high school, technology was a big part of what we did. So it was a big part of what we knew our future was going to be. And you're right, our website is very complicated. You have to dig and dig and dig to find anything. It is absolutely ridiculous. As treasurer, you cannot just say, yes, I'm going to make a change to our website. But I will say this. You can sit down and you can get on the agenda for Commissioner's Court to discuss allocating some funds and sitting down with our current tech group to say, hey, we need to make some changes. We need to revise the website. And if it's something that we can't do with our tech department, then it needs to be outsourced. And it needs to be simplified. Like you said, we shouldn't have to go through 7 different tabs and 14 different pages to find one little bitty blue link that says, oh, okay, here we go. You should be able to click on each department within. You should be able to go, I want to see JP Precinct 1 and see what they've done. I want to be able to see the county treasurer's report and see what's been done. Each one should just have a tab. It's that easy. It really is that easy in the tech world to say, tab for this one, tab for this one, tab for this one. Now you click, I think, for example, if you want to see something about the justice courts, you click on one tab and you see this page of stuff, then you click on another tab to go to another page. It's not user-friendly, y'all. It's very complicated.
Well, they don't want us to know.
Sounds like you need a new tech group.
Well,
Maybe. I don't know the answer to that.
yeah,
Don't know
That's
the
what
answer to
it's
that.
called, spaghetti programming.
Spaghetti programming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they added something, and then they added something, and they added something, and never organized it.
It is, and that may be exactly what took place over the years. We started with something simple and somebody said, hey, let's add this. And without thinking of the simplicity of it going forward, it's just, okay, now it's there. That may very well be what happened.
As long as we don't use Civics as a vendor, because they're the current ones at the candidate registration system for the Secretary of State, so.
And I would say this specific to the treasurer, one of the things that current treasurer Westbrook and I have discussed several times during our meetings is BJ admits that she was not, that her intention was never to change the department.
Right.
And one thing that she has said to me time and time again is that the department needs modernization. She
Good.
knows it, she understands it, but she says that she is not the right person to do that.
Yep.
She is resigning from the role. Now, I'll say this as county treasurer, I don't think she's done a bad job at all. I think she's a nice lady. I think she's a wonderful person.
So that's why she's not running again.
It is, she has decided it's not for her.
How long
She
has
is
she been
resigning.
the treasurer?
This was her first and only term. So
And the
Terry
prior
Newell was there for
treasurer?
16 years before, I believe. So, and you know, back in the day, things were ran with ledgers and handwritten documents, and in some instances, they still are.
and
There's
sometimes,
a lot of places where they're still using just basic Excel spreadsheets, which are fine, but there are other things that can be utilized as well. So we need to look at that. What all is done in there, I still don't know. You know, you've got to get in there and you've got to take a look at everything first. I don't really have the rights as a private citizen to go in and just start digging through their stuff, nor would I want to try to do so. So there is going to be some on-the-job training that's going to take place, and as you start doing the job, you start to find the things that need to be changed. When I was at the bank, I sat on several committees, and I know these terms won't make any difference to you guys, but Teller Plus, Bankline, things of that nature were committees that we sat on that we were constantly looking to modernize, to make more friendly for the retail banker, to make more friendly for the lender, those types of programs, so that they were always up to date. They were user-friendly, they were clean is important, because keeping it clean makes sure that the users are able to access documentation, access information very easily without issue. So.
All right, well,
I told you,
appreciate
questions are great. I appreciate that.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much. All right, thank you so much. So our next speaker, let me hit the button, because if you don't hit the button, it doesn't count. So our next speaker tonight is a candidate for Texas House District 7, and that is going to be Melissa Beckett. Miss Beckett, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
thank you for having me. Well, thank you very much for being here tonight, especially with the way the weather is. I know probably all of us want to be home in front of the fireplace, right? Staying warm. But this kind of business is important, right? We vote because it matters, and we vote because we're the ones that are in charge. Our government works for us, but I will tell you that my experience is our government has forgotten that they work for us. And especially as an East Texan, I feel like East Texans have been forgotten. And my intent, I'm running to be your state representative in the House, is that we are not going to be forgotten anymore. I'm not a politician, I'm a mom, and I think that we need to get back to average, everyday people representing all of us, because we're average, everyday people. And so my commitment is, when I win, and I do intend to win, I will go there and I will sit in that seat every single day, remembering who I report to, remembering that that seat is not mine. That seat belongs to every person in these 3 counties, and I am there to represent them. And so I'm gonna share a little bit with you tonight about the things that I've been hearing from people as I go around the 3 counties, and then we can turn it over to questions, because I really want to know what's on your heart, what's on your mind, what's important to you, because that should be what's important to me. And so as I've been talking to people, what I've learned is most of us have no money left at the end of the month. The government just keeps taking more and more and more every time we turn around.
And I don't know the details of the Brookshire situation, but what I do know is I don't think the people of this area would choose to give more money to Brookshire's over putting money in their own pocket. The problem is we've kind of forgotten as a society, I think, where decisions are supposed to be made. I think our government has conditioned us to think government is the answer to everything. And if you really look at conservative principles, those principles are that government is small and they report to us that we ultimately should be governing ourselves. And when you look at what has happened in Austin over the last couple sessions, or last even 3 or 4, what you'll find is they just spend more and more money. $90 billion over 4 years was the increase in the state budget. That is ridiculous. Basically, COVID hit, and it seems like our state government lost their mind. Like they just think that we are ATMs, I guess, and they can just press a button and get whatever they want, and we get the leftovers. Well, last I checked, when a government operates that way, it's communism. Because in communism, the government takes everything that they want. They believe they own everything, and they do. And we, the people, get the scraps and the leftovers. And doesn't that describe what's going on right now? Whether it be at any level of government. Whoops, sorry. Glad I didn't fall on my face. That would have been really bad.
Or club.
It totally wouldn't have made it on YouTube. I promise.
I so know it would. And what do they say? All press is good press, so maybe that would be okay. I don't know.
Subscribers only.
Subscribers only. So anyway, when I look at the way our government operates, I'm very disappointed. And I get angry when I look at my bank account and I look at the bills that I've got to pay and what my government is doing with my money. And I figure if I feel like that, so does everybody else. And we shouldn't be feeling like that. We live in the best country on the planet, and we live in the best state in that country. But we're not acting like Texas, not when it comes to governance. And so my intent is to be loud and obnoxious. I don't do well being told what to do. I am a leader, I'm not a follower. And I feel very convicted that the only way we're gonna change what is actually happening in Austin is to make it very transparent what is going on. So the fact that we spend any time at all on resolutions that determine what the Texas stake is obnoxious to me. When we have people who can't pay their bills and they're just stealing money from us, basically, and they are wasting their time on deciding that the tomahawk steak is the steak of Texas. That is so irrelevant to our lives. That doesn't change one thing that we're gonna do. And it's not gonna change the steak I'm gonna order at the restaurant either. But yet, our government chooses to spend time on that. I remember the first time when I went there to testify on some education bills, and I think it was in the State Affairs Committee, and they were actually voting, or it wasn't a vote, I guess, it was a resolution on who had the best apple pie. That was my first experience that we do stuff like that. Are you kidding me? We don't need to declare who the apple pie capital of Texas is. That does not improve our lives. And so we do some silly things like that, but we also do some really obnoxious things. We gave over $42 billion in this last state budget to corporate welfare. What's happening with Brookshire's is corporate welfare, where they take our money and through the government, they spend it on a corporation rather than giving it back to us. Conservative principles say that is our money and it needs to come back to us. It needs to not leave our pockets to begin with, actually, because they have proven they don't want to give it back to us. No. They were swimming in money, and they gave a teeny tiny bit to us back in property tax relief, which, is it really property tax relief? We all got our bills. Whose bills actually went down? I don't see any hands. So did we actually get property tax relief? No. So the one thing I've learned, so over the last 8 years, I have done some advocacy work for parents specifically related to public schools. 8 years ago, when I was living in San Antonio, my parental rights were violated. And so I went to my principal, the superintendent, all the way through the school board, and ultimately all the way to the TEA, and basically watched all of those entities trample my parental rights and not care about it. And then I met parents all across the state who the same thing was happening to them. And so we worked together as volunteers and started going to the Capitol, testifying on bills, talking to our legislators so that we could improve the parental rights situation. Through that process, what I have learned is two things about legislation, and these are generalizations. It might not apply to absolutely everybody there. Usually, the bill comes for two reasons. We're trying to solve a problem, but we don't actually solve it. We're gonna call it property tax relief, but you're not actually gonna get property tax relief, because that's good marketing. That might help me get reelected, right? That's not actually going to, unfortunately, help your pocketbook until we actually eliminate property tax. Take away the power of them dialing those knobs and going, I'm gonna increase this a little bit and this a little bit, and this is how much money I want, so this is what your bill's gonna be. We have to take away that power from them, and if we don't take away that power, nothing's gonna change when it comes to our property taxes, right? Well, the other thing I've noticed where most of our bills come from, they're vendor bills. And we saw this a lot in education. So let's pretend I'm a lobbyist and I'm going to the Capitol and I'm gonna go into, you're my representative, or actually no, I'm just gonna stop in your office and I'm gonna say, hey, Nirav, I wrote this bill and I need you to file it and we need to pass it. And if you look at it really close, I'm gonna make a lot of money when this bill passes. That's a vendor bill. Most of the bills are vendor bills. And that's really unfortunate because that means it's all about the vendor making money, not about helping us. Now, I do think we have some people who have really great intentions that do want to do the right thing. But I know that it is a very difficult place to be. And if you don't know who you are, and if you don't know who you're there to represent, you will fall into the trap of the lobbyist. You will do what the lobbyist wants you to do, because otherwise they're gonna make your life very difficult. Well, I have some friends in my little parent education group that, and they're not wrong, this will probably happen. When I get my office in Austin, there will be a sign, most likely on my door, that says, lobbyist, with an arrow down to the trash can. Put your stuff here. Citizen, come on in. Because that is who we're supposed to represent. And I am committed to doing that, not because I want to be there, but because I am deathly afraid of the future for my children. And I'm guessing, I know a lot of you here, some are new. My guess is everybody else feels the same way. We have fewer freedoms today than we had 10 years ago. They're spending more of our money than they did 10 years ago. And we can do that for every decade. They've lost their mind. And so my intent is to go and point out all the problems. Who knows who Brian Harrison is? Have you seen him on Facebook? If I were to describe myself, that's the closest thing I can say as to who I will be. I will be loud and obnoxious. You will know everything that's going on. Usually when a freshman gets elected, what happens is they get sat down by leadership and they get told, now Melissa, you just need to be quiet. Don't make a lot of waves. Do what we tell you. Vote for the bills we tell you to vote on. And Melissa, in 2 or 4 years, you're going to get that chairmanship in education. Isn't that what you really want? So just put in your time. I tell you, when that conversation starts, I'm getting up and I'm leaving. They are not going to do that to me. I'm prepared, though. A lot of people are not prepared for that. And so, so anyway, let's get back to issues, though. So we need to end property tax. I will tell you, it is highly possible that we can do it. It is not out of reach at all. It is all about the political will of the people making the decision. That's all it is. And I know the governor came out with his 5 points. I would just encourage you to read it and look at, does that actually take away those knobs? Or does it just slow down how they get turned? Well, if that's the case, our property taxes are not going to go down. They're going to continue to go up. So that needs a lot more work, in my opinion. And he's got time to do that, but it needs a lot more work. Now, protect our water rights. That, I know that matters here. And I'll tell you, I didn't understand the magnitude of the problem until I talked to Shar on the phone. Actually, before I decided to run, I just heard that there's this water thing going on. I don't understand. Do they not have water to shower? You know, like, I just didn't know. Oh my gosh, no. For more than 50 years, you guys and your friends and your family have had to sit by and watch Dallas try to bully you into submission. And in my opinion, your government has absolutely let you down.
Let them do it.
Exactly. Yeah. They sat back and let them do it every 5 years to come up with a new plan. That's unacceptable to me. The job of government is to protect our rights. And they've forgotten that, so we need to remind them. We need to send people to Austin who know what the purpose of government actually is, who will intervene on your behalf, not after you've lost your land and had to relocate your family, but before you have to deal with it. And after 50 years, it is time to put it to bed, period. And when I say put it to bed, I'm not saying give in because Dallas is just going to do what Dallas is going to do. I'm saying we're going to stop it. And part of my background is I was a commodities trader before I stayed home with my children. And when I was talking to Shar and she was explaining what was going on with water, it didn't take me 2 minutes to go. They're trying to turn that into a commodity, and that's exactly what they're doing. They know that water is valuable, and they want to take away what belongs to you. And they want to say that you don't matter, that your way of life is the old way, not the new way. And if you think that this last week, it was either the city of Dallas or the county of Dallas, my apologies for not knowing which one it was, they announced that they gave a $23.5 million grant to a developer to develop a neighborhood. I'm sorry, when did we become a bank without our permission? Because there are only two ways grants work. One, you pay it back in some fashion, or two, they give you the money. So I don't even know which one it is, but either of those are not okay with me. Is anybody okay with that by raising hands? Nope. Do you want your money to be loaned to a developer? Nope. So that then they can like build water parks and things like that and come steal your water? So this Texas Miracles, what I'm told this is called. All these people come into Texas, over 1,500 people a day. We have all these great jobs. Way to go, Texas. I'm told that the leadership in Dallas, they call it the Texas Miracle. Well, I was in the room when Susan Conway turned around and said to me, I'm sorry, for East Texas, it is a nightmare. And she's not wrong. She is 100% right. And so whether it's what's happening in Dallas or what's happening immediately here, my commitment to you is I will stand on the wall. I will be loud and obnoxious if I need to be. I will be quiet and sneaky if I need to be. But we are not giving up our land and we are not giving up our water. Go home. Do your own thing. Stay out of our backyard, period. And so, in my opinion, that's the kind of leadership we're supposed to have. Your rights matter. Your liberty matters. And that is what I'm committed to fighting for. I have a lot of experience when it comes to looking at education from a parent's point of view. And what I have seen, I have 2 children that are in college and I have a 2nd grader. So I have seen education and I'm still seeing education. And I know some people laugh like, did you not know what's going on? I always get that look. He's awesome, Bill. We love him. And so, but we've learned a lot. Like education has changed a ton in just 10 years, 15 years. We all know it, right? You go to the grocery store and they can't count your change. Like if you give them cash, you got to double check. If you go to the concession stand on Friday night, what's the chance they know how to count change?
0.
Yeah. Yet we tout that we have the best education ever, but we do not. We have kids graduating that can't read a book. They can't read cursive. They can't add. And we're jumping up and down saying we're great. And I think the only way we can fix that problem is to admit that we have lost our mind, that the experiment to put the state in charge was a very bad experiment. It has harmed our children. And the way we're going to fix that is to get rid of the state agency, period, in my opinion. The TEA needs to go. They add 0 value, and I've talked to teachers, principals, superintendents, parents, and I have asked the question, what would happen if I took the TEA away tomorrow? What would you miss? The answer is nothing. And if you look, we spend $40 billion a year just on the TEA alone.
Wow.
And we are getting
That money over
negative.
to eliminating property tax.
Exactly. I mean, I'm a business person, so I look at that and go, why are we throwing $40 billion a year down the toilet? I mean, we would get better return if we just put it in the toilet. And so we need to wake up. And I have sat in these education committees, and this dog and pony show that they do is obnoxious. And it just makes me so angry. They waltz in the TEA people and they sit down and they spend 2 hours just saying how great things are, but our kids are struggling to read. So I need this $10 billion or whatever it is. Here's the bill I want you to pass, and this is gonna save education. Every 2 years, they do the exact same thing, and they have never made it better. Not one time. And so that needs to go. And in my opinion, that is super easy. I mean, we will wake up tomorrow and be in a better place if the TEA was just gone. Now, I recognize that's an absolutely monstrous goal. Now, I think I can be persuasive enough, and I think I will work harder than anybody else to make it go away. But if for some reason I can't do that in my first term, my commitment is I'll also have a bill asking for us, SD1, Senate District 1, to be able to do an experiment where our schools can opt out of the TEA if they choose. I've seen Senator Hughes do similar things with certifications and different things like that, which is how I got the idea. He's very creative. I haven't had a chance to run this by him yet, but I think it's something he would like. And then they could take a little smaller bite out of the TEA. We could show them that we can do way better, and then the rest of the state can do the same. And so those are, you know, the kind of the miracle idea, the Christmas list, I guess, and then, okay, what we can reasonably probably get done. And I will work hard to make that happen, because teachers don't like teaching anymore. They are leaving in droves, and I don't blame them. And I had people ask, well, Melissa, how are you on vouchers? How are you on ESAs? Or do you really support our public education? And I'll tell you, I love our teachers. And I think we have great parents. And I think because we've lost our way, parents are unhappy, teachers are unhappy, and students aren't learning. And so any education bill that comes in front of me, voucher or otherwise, that is how I will evaluate it. Does it make teachers more control of their classroom and more joyful about what they do? Does it uphold or increase parental rights and parental access to information? And most importantly, is it actually going to produce better results? And I'm not talking test scores. I'm talking kids who actually are learning. I would love to get rid of all the test scores. I mean, I just put them all in the trash. Now, I could talk about lots of other things. The other thing that I'm hearing a lot, and this was not the case when I announced back in June, but I'm hearing it a lot more now, is the Islamification of Texas and what is happening there. I've been trying to do some research on that, and I've been seeking out experts, and I have met a handful of experts, and I have gone to some of their meetings. I have their contact information, and my intent is to do the best I can to understand as much of it as possible. But a few of the things that I have gathered is, it is not a religion. It is a political system. So we cannot think of it as, well, it's religious freedom. No, it is a political system, period. Second, people will make a comment, well, it's one of the religions that came from Abraham. That is false. That is not correct. Texas is the Islam capital of the United States. We have more mosques, and we have more imams who can be traced back to terrorist organizations living in Texas. And they're not idiots. Why are they here? Just like we know, wherever Texas goes, that's the way the United States is going to go. And they know it. That's why they're here. And so there's lots more that I am soaking up and trying to understand as best as I can. But I know that is important. It's important to our way of life. And we have to make sure that we can return back to a Texas we can be proud of. And that is one of the things that has to be taken care of. I also know there's a lot of discussion about CARE and the Muslim Brotherhood. The people that I've been talking to, those are a problem, but there are actually 3 organizations that are even way worse. So if we just focus on Muslim Brotherhood, we're not gonna make a dent in it. And so we need to start hearing our leadership talking about other entities. And off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you what they were. But let's open it up to questions, because I wanna know what's on your mind.
questions?
If there's something, anything's fair game. No, not all at once, Michelle.
Just 2 things. Your experience dealing with the morass that is Austin is obvious when you look at your Texas Education 911 and the fact that you've gone down there and done battle with the lunacy. The incumbent made remarks about you have to have experience and you have to be politically astute and all knee deep in the swamp to get anything done. I'm sorry, but that's another tone deaf to the max comment. That's gotten us where we are today.
Right.
Okay, and it's very frustrating. And now this new idea. How do you feel about this idea about the child accounts?
Oh my gosh.
Okay, you want to take my money to give to somebody else that has a baby. I absolutely lost.
And that's coming
My
out of the
composure.
mouth of a Republican.
Yeah,
That's
it's,
supposed to understand small government.
oh, what a good idea. Look, here, money. That's my
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, it is. It's our money. And that's an example of earlier when I mentioned that we've been conditioned to believe government's the answer to everything.
Yeah.
That is, someone stated a problem, and instead of, no, we need to get small government, we need to give money back to the people. And if the people want to help someone, they can do that. It's not the government's job.
Thank you.
Government should be fighting for our rights, which they've stopped doing.
Mhm.
Keeping us safe in areas we're not able to do ourselves, and if necessary, infrastructure. That's it. That's what government was actually intended to be. And we have gotten so out of control. The amount of stuff that goes through our government treasurer accounts, it's ridiculous. So, another question.
I saw that comment today.
One of my first thoughts when I saw it was, gee, I wonder what George Washington or Thomas Jefferson would have said to that comment.
I think they might have pulled their gun.
You know what Davy Crockett said? He said, y'all can go to hell, I'm going to Texas.
It might be. Y'all go to hell, I'm going to Florida.
Yeah.
Or
And-
my own
yeah.
island or something now. Michael, you have your hand up?
I like that you're very bold. I respect that, I appreciate that, and you sound like somebody that I definitely give my support to.
Thank you.
So, thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Question being, and I alluded to this some when I was speaking for a moment, is that so many of our politicians go to Texas, DC, wherever it may be, for whoever they are, and their voice seems to become our voice, and it should be the opposite.
Exactly.
How can you assure us that you always reflect, because you can't reflect everybody's voice.
Right.
The easiest way to fail is to try to please everybody, right?
Yeah.
But how can you assure us that you will reflect the majority within your district, our voice?
Right.
And Austin.
So one thing I think that sets me apart from the current representative is I'm running on the Republican ticket, and I will represent conservative values, period.
Good.
Not that the people on the other side and on the blue side don't matter, but it's the Republican conservative values that are gonna put me in office, and that is what I stand for. I cannot move to the left. I physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually would not know how. And so that would be obviously something you maybe have to take my word on a little bit. I have sat back and watched our current representative and other representatives and paid attention as to how they do things. And it appears as though it's all about what leadership wants. And that's what they talk about. Well, this is what leadership wanted. So no, that's not leadership's job to tell me how to represent you. My job is to echo your voice. And the one reason that I hope that maybe, and if you go and look up Texas Education 911, look into that at all, that was just a happy accident. It was parents all across the state. We were meeting once a week at 12 o'clock on Zoom, and we were rewriting the Parents' Rights chapter of education so that we could go to our lawmakers and say, you need to fix this because this is a mess. Well, through all of that, Texas Education 911 came out of it. And I ended up being dubbed the founder of it. I was just one of many. I happened to be the one who scheduled the meetings. I think that's
That
why.
wasn't by accident. That was by hard work.
It was a lot of hard work, but it wasn't just mine. One thing that I would always say is our job is to be the voice of the parents. I feel the exact same way here. My job would be to be your voice. And I think if we know where we're headed, it's a lot easier to stay in that lane. And so how I pledge to keep you forefront in my mind is how I have to know how I'm doing a good job. And in my opinion, if you see me at the grocery store, you see me wherever, if I'm doing a good job, you're gonna run up to me and give me a hug and say, I have so much money in my pocket, thank you so much. If I'm not doing a good job, you're not gonna do that. And so that's how I will measure if I'm doing a good job. Because I need you to be happy. You are the stakeholders. I'm one of them, but I'm only one of them. We are the stakeholders of this government, and we need to take it back. And I will say, there are other people like me around the state who are running for state representative. And we have a very, very good chance of this new crop of freshmen that's gonna come in, plus last year or 2 years ago, freshmen, we're gonna have a significant number of people, and they are not gonna be able to ignore us. And so, so my pledge to you is that the way I ran 911 is how I intend to run this seat, is that it's not mine. It is a voice. Now, granted, it has to be a conservative voice or I can't be in the seat. And I very much believe in super small government. We're in charge. Does that kind of help you?
It does.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
What else?
I had a question.
Yeah.
So, we talked about elimination of property tax, and you know, sorry, I just got a little PTSD from the last appraisal. Anyway, so we definitely want to. Was that?
How you gonna replace it?
Well,
It ain't gonna happen. Nobody's gonna give up all the money they're getting unless you can tell them they're gonna get the money they need to do what they're responsible to do.
yeah. So property tax, I want to eliminate it. I mean, because the idea that, you know, like what happened this legislative session, which is what's happened on the previous ones, you know, they deal with compression rates and stuff like that. They raise value, they raise the homestead exemption, and then the local appraisal board just comes in and just destroys it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we want to eliminate property tax. Now, I know that there's some other options, because Texas doesn't have as diverse of a tax base, say, like as Florida in general. So, so we're obviously not diversified enough. So we get rid of property tax. I know consumption tax, that helps out in some areas and whatnot. So we have that, but how does that all tie into what I've seen, not just here in Marion County, but also in other rural communities throughout Texas, is that they're really struggling to develop economically, like to attract businesses and stuff like that. So how do you think is the best way to incorporate, all of that? I mean, I know that's kind of a loaded question to give a 5-minute response, but yeah, I mean, how do we do that? Because if there's nothing here when the kids graduate high school, they leave.
Yeah.
And the first place they go to is like what I did when I was growing up. Waxahachie was a small town. It's not a small town anymore, by the way. Waxahachie was a small town. What happened when you graduated Waxahachie High School? You went to Dallas. Mm-hmm. Okay, and some people in East Texas still do that.
Yeah.
But how would we do that to where these communities can grow responsibly, not outdoing their resources and things like that? I'm looking at Char when I said that because she knows because we're on the same team on that. So how can that happen, you think? I mean, I'm not gonna hold your feet to the fire, but I just want to.
So I want to make sure I know what you're asking. I think you're asking two questions. What would we replace property tax with? And let's say that it is a consumption tax related. How do we have the base to collect enough money to replace it? Is that
part of that? And then how does that And then with that, also the second part is how do we, develop some of these rural communities in terms of economic to make things, more prosperous, to where people do have a little bit more money in
Yeah.
their pocket and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple things come to mind. No one's ever asked that exact question, so thank you for that. My brain has to do a little bit of gymnastics here for a minute. So a couple things come to mind. Right now, the government's taking all of our money out of our pockets, and we're not actually educating the children. So they graduate high school, and unless they have like super involved parents,
Right.
or they were just like super smart to begin with, they're struggling. Well, you're gonna make more money in the city, right? That's a given. And so that's part of the attraction. So, one, if we put more money in our pockets so that we have more disposable income that we can actually use, that's gonna attract business. When we don't have disposable income, it can't attract business,
Right.
right? So granted, that's a high level thing,
Right.
but we have to get money back in our pockets or there's no money for businesses to grow for.
Yeah.
So that would be number one. Number two, we need to get back to, part of getting rid of the TEA is we need to get back to local control on education. Because what should be included, like if I was in a small town, and I'm in Longview, so bigger than here, but let's say that I lived here in Jefferson, which is a smaller town, and I know we're struggling here. Restaurants are closing, and I know the schools are struggling just like everywhere else. This area should be responsible for the education. Like, what do we want our children to learn? Well, imagine if one of their projects in high school was to start a business and they had to start it in this area. Like, what is something this area needs? And how do you make money? Our kids are graduating with no idea how to start a business.
You're not gonna start a business until you know how to read.
Exactly.
If you wanna start a business, you wanna know how to count money.
Exactly. So if we're not teaching those things, then we're not teaching them to be creative. Right now, our education system treats them like they're a widget. And
Right.
Narav, Michelle, Hunter, Melissa, every single one of us were all treated exactly the same. Well, that's just failed to begin with. And so I believe if we get back to local control on schools, then the local community will fill in where they believe their kids need things. And I think if I was, especially in a small town, I would want my kids to learn all the necessary skills, reading and writing. I would want them to know how to start a business. I want to encourage them to do so. If they start a business in high school and it's actually successful, they're not going to leave.
Right.
So, I know those are kind of broad
Yeah,
ways
that's
of answering your
broad.
question.
Yeah.
I think it ultimately comes back to who's in charge, who's in charge of the money. Because if we're in charge of the money, we decide where it's spent. When the government's in charge, it's not in our pockets. And so businesses.
It's not always only the government, coming especially to the subject about property taxes. Look at the tax bill. What's the biggest portion on there? It's the school.
Yeah, administrative.
Yeah.
But
Who is
all
deciding on how much money
$500,000 a
goes
year,
to the
$300,000 a year.
county? How much? Who's deciding how much money they want from the county?
Yeah.
It's the school boards. Who's electing those school boards?
But our same CAD can't even tell you how many businesses are out here in the county.
Yeah, but
They're not
the stuff for me
taxing,
is,
I hate property
that-
taxes,
I mean, for me,
but they're
my-
not even
in
taxing
my
the
point
ones
of
that are
view,
out here.
Right.
There's
school
over
boards are
200
self-service.
short-term rentals
I
around
need
this
some
lake.
money, I say, okay,
And
tax
not
collector,
be,
go collect it for me.
I mean, I will say our whole school system is a mess. I can't speak for the school systems here because I haven't done the deep dive, but I've lived in Houston, San Antonio, and then I know people all across the state in different school districts. The bigger the school district gets, the more corruption they have. And that's why I had a lady call the other day and went, if we get rid of property taxes, how are you gonna fund our schools? And she was, really concerned. And as we were talking through things, she said, and where I live, we don't even have a tennis court because it's all falling apart. And I drive to Dallas and they have these big facilities and they have these $30 million football fields. And she said, I don't understand. Why is it not equal? And I said, well, actually there are two things going on here. One, we have what's it called? I wanna say Peter Pan, but that's not right.
Robin Hood.
Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Robin Hood,
Oh,
those high dollar areas, they write massively big checks back to the state.
The taxpayers make massively big tax.
Correct.
Mhm.
And so the Robin Hood is happening, but what I believe is happening is those big cities, they're not solvent. And when you're in a big city like that, usually your superintendent doesn't even live in the school district, number one. And the superintendents build their resume by doing bonds and bigger bonds and more often. So the superintendent's goal is to have more bonds. And they're not supposed to be running the school boards, but that's how it is working out because that's what TASB teaches them to do. And so what they've done is they have mortgaged out way past solvency in those areas. Our smaller school districts and areas, they're more responsible with our money. They're less apt to ask for a bond. They know that if they do a bond, it's actually affecting their pocketbook and their neighbor's pocketbook. So they're less apt to ask you for a bond, which means you're not gonna have the big fancy football stadium. And so that's what I think is really happening there, is they have way out leveraged, and they will continue to out leverage until we stop letting them borrow money. They shouldn't be allowed to borrow money, in my opinion, because it's your money. And so if we don't have the money, we're not gonna do it, is what should happen.
It's for the children.
Yeah, it's for the children, yeah. I know we're probably, I don't know, one more question maybe?
No, one more question, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna comment on the tax scenario. Isn't part of the tax problem because you got Abbott and others bringing in businesses and saying zero tax base for so long, you come on in with, and then you please bring your techies from California with you because our people, they don't know that.
Right, I mean,
And
it's a huge problem.
I think there's a lot of that.
HB1, sorry.
Yeah,
HB1 is part of the problem. The corporate welfare is what you're talking
Yeah, it's
about.
like,
Yes.
it's
came
like,
out, I
excuse
don't
me,
know.
if you wanna come to Texas,
Bless you.
you legitimately wanna come to Texas, either make it flip and work, and if you don't, go to Connecticut.
Yeah.
I don't care, just go away.
Yeah, and so I very much disagree with how business is being attracted here. It's not the way I would ever
No.
consider doing it. So, Barb?
So some of the responsibility on the whole tax thing and the school and getting, graduating, people can't read and the intelligent ones read. Some of that, I believe, is totally incumbent on the persons that we elect to the area. Because
Yes.
I have been here just for 10 years, 11 years in this area. And I don't see any strategic economic development at all. Now, I know you work with, I might be wrong, I might be missing some of it, but I tend to pay attention to some. And so if you have no competition, like for example, only one grocer that isn't really top notch anyway, and now we're paying for them to do something else. Why not just encourage Aldi's or Kroger's, somebody else saying, hey, come on, look what's available over here, something. I don't know if I'm missing stuff that has actually happened that I don't know about, I really wish that y'all would tell me who and where and what's being done. I know we've had broadband, some of the techie stuff that has been, and
There's competition now.
well, yeah, on some of that, but then, how many jobs, and we can create more jobs that way. But when there is no competition, when you have only one restaurant, and you have to go to that restaurant if you want to eat out, and I don't care if somebody said that Burger King's coming. Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah. Well, okay, so
So this is not really a question.
no, I think I can make that into a question.
Strategic economic
You're ready for Austin.
And so, the chambers are involved with some of that, and the council of governments and whatever. I think we're lacking in persons who may be young enough or not to have some real foresight like yourself. I'm aged out on the other side. I'm tired of doing all this
Yeah.
stuff. Okay?
So I am a small government person. So I don't think it's the government's job to attract businesses. So that would be the first principle I would lay out there. So I'm not a fan of Longview Economic Development Corporation. Because, and I'm pretty sure Jefferson probably has a Jefferson Economic Development
They do.
Corporation.
They do,
do.
Jedco.
Yeah.
So, so that's in theory how our areas are doing economic development, but here's why I don't like it. So look at the Brookshire situation. $5 million that gives Brookshire an advantage.
Uh-huh.
Anybody else who wants to come in and put in a grocery store, they're gonna have to pay for their own wastewater or whatever, right? So they're already behind.
Right.
And so when we pick these winners like that, we as the government, using our money, is creating and protecting the monopoly.
Right.
And so that's part of the problem. And so I think those need to be eliminated. And we need to get back to letting the market determine, because if the government's not involved and it could sustain, Aldi's would come here. But if they have to get the same deal Brookshire's got to even have a level playing field, they're not gonna get it.
Well, but companies have always come into or worked with the Jedcos or, you know, other groups like this in other areas.
Because they're getting
with a, you know, the promise of some sort of tax abatement.
Exactly.
Because the startup, for anything that's substantial enough to actually employ locals, you know, from the loading docks to the shelves inside the store, you know, all that stuff. It takes some incentive from the locals, say, well, you know, we'd really like to have at a restaurant somewhere, you know, and so there needs to be some kind of encouragement, and usually that's in the form of tax abatement. I'm not opposed to tax abatements as long as they're fair across the board, depending on who's coming, whatever. Anyway,
yeah. So
it's just I see.
So I think, like, again, it's back to kind of principles. So I don't think government doesn't create jobs.
Right.
But we've convinced ourselves that government creates jobs. Or they've convinced us, and now we're like on the treadmill, you know? So we need to get back to the way the market works is when we want something in this area, for example, if the government's not involved, the market will say, hey, there's people in Jefferson who want a pizza place. I know you have a pizza place, but they don't have a pizza place. I've got an incentive to go, right? And so then I go set it up because I run the numbers and go, I can be profitable with it. That is the way business is supposed to work, is that because we desire something, we send a signal to the market and the market supplies it. You put government in the middle of it, that destroys everything. It makes it so an entrepreneur really has a really hard time surviving. If all the money's in the government's hands and not ours, we can't send a market signal. And then when the government overregulates everything, it's hard to take a risk and start a business because they want zillions of dollars just to say I'm gonna start something. And that's wrong.
Yeah.
And so all of those things are things we need to eliminate so that people can, if Hunter decides he wants to start another, you're in IT and I think you have your own business, right? So if he decides he wants to start a yogurt shop, well, that should be because he ran the numbers and he thinks he can sell enough yogurt. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how business is supposed to work. But when we put government in the middle of it, oh, we want to start a yogurt shop?
No, I could. I could sell a lot of yogurt, you know.
So anyway, I believe in the power of your voice, and I believe in the power of your pocketbook if we can get the money back in your pocketbook. So my pledge to you is there will be nobody in Austin that will work harder than me. There will be nobody in Austin who has your best interest at heart more than me. And so my hope is that you will vote for me on March 3rd. And there is a sheet here. If you want to be on my mailing list and you're not already, please fill it out. Because then I can put you know what's going on. You can follow me on Facebook. I am willing to go anywhere and talk to anybody. All the numbers on here, this is my cell phone, and I answer it, and I talk, and I will answer your questions, or your neighbor's stubborn questions, or, whatever that is, because my job is to serve you. And I don't have the title yet, but I will get it. And so I'm gonna just be your representative right now.
All right.
One note, if
me one
you've
of those
got
sheets.
friends and you want them to listen to
I've
her,
got the rest of it. This one.
she's
Yeah,
going to
okay.
be in Longview next Friday, the 12th, at 11 o'clock at Tio Juanita's. So if you've got friends that you've gotta meet this woman, you gotta listen to her, come to Tio Juanita's on the 12th at 11 a.m.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Beckett. We appreciate it. Moving on to our next item, I do apologize to the members here. You know, I updated the agenda in email and added the resolution that we're about to discuss right here. And then when I printed out the agenda, I realized that I printed out the wrong Word document. So if there is no objection, I know the document you have in front of you says Chairman's Report next, but if there is no objection, which I'm sure there's not because you don't want to hear me talk, that we're going to move on to this resolution. This resolution, this was jointly authored by Narav and myself. The title of it, it's only front and back, so it's not multiple pages, but this is a resolution concerning the compatibility of Western civilization and Islamic doctrine. I'm going to read the resolution and then I will open it up for discussion. Whereas Western civilization is founded upon ancient Greek philosophy, Roman law, Germanic political institutions, and Christianity, emphasizing individual liberty, personal freedom, and self-reliance. And whereas Western civilization values reason, scientific inquiry, critical thinking, and the pursuit of knowledge as fundamental pillars of human progress. And whereas the Judeo-Christian religions underlying Western civilization affirms that all people are created equal with God-given rights, that government authority derives from the consent of the governed, and that life is sacred. And whereas Western religious and philosophical traditions embrace free will, forgiveness, justice, and the ability to coexist peacefully with other faiths. And whereas Western civilization has fostered human creativity, exploration, and expression through art, music, science, and technological advancement. This is the good part now. Whereas Islamic society derives from different theological and historical origins, emphasizing submission to Allah and governance under Sharia law in all facets of personal conduct, ethics, worship, family, economics, and politics. And whereas Islamic doctrine considers Sharia law to be the revealed word of God, Allah, and functions as the religious, civil, and criminal law with critically different approaches to individual liberty, gender relations, religious freedom, and the status of non-believers. And whereas extreme fundamental differences exist between Western and Islamic concepts of governance, human rights, religious liberty, and the relationship between religious, civil, and criminal authority. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Marion County Republican Party recognizes that significant theological, philosophical, cultural, and governmental differences exist between Western civilization and traditional Islamic doctrine that present potentially unsurmountable challenges for integration and compatibility. And be it further resolved that these differences encompass fundamental concepts including individual liberty, religious freedom, separation of religious and civil law, gender equality, and democratic governance. And be it finally resolved that acknowledgement of these foundational differences is essential for honest dialogue and the development of effective policies that protect Western values while promoting peaceful coexistence. With that being said, now that the motion or the resolution has been read, I'll open it up to any discussion from any member.
Well, actually, I was thinking of something.
Yes.
You know, because I like to digest it after we do it. There's one thing we didn't mention, and it's a big deal that's being talked about, especially in Texas, with as many mosques as we have. We have direct connections that are proven between many of the imams and the people who are teaching and helping create these compounds and bring the society here,
Right.
are tied to terrorist organizations. They are tied to the Muslim Brotherhood. They are tied to, there's other names, I forget, but there's so many organizations. But they're tied to designated terrorist groups. I mean, you've got the UAE's designated them. You've got Egypt, you've got Saudi Arabia. There are countries that have designated these groups as being terrorists. And so we have imams and people who are within this Islamic society in the United States that are directly related. And I think, for me, I'm going, probably should have concluded something in there that said, and whereas there have been ties to terrorism somehow in here.
That sounds like just gonna ask, that sounds like you might be wanting to make a motion to amend.
Yeah, I just haven't figured out the words, but a
Yeah.
motion to amend that we make an acknowledgement that there is most distinctly verifiable proof, like in Dallas, they deported the guy that was the head of the one mosque there for his ties.
Yeah.
Simply stated, if it doesn't start from a logical and a moral base, nothing good can stem from it.
Yeah.
And since they don't extend the same courtesies to us that we do them,
Yeah.
they're not welcome.
Right.
And that's
As Newsom would say, hard stop.
Where would you want to add that in?
Well, I would-
Because obviously it's gonna have to be before, now therefore be it resolved.
yeah, it would
Okay.
have to be, it's after Sharia law.
Well, right here, where we've talked about criminal authority.
Maybe right
Make,
after that.
You could-
make a
you could do
motion
that.
that whereas there is documented evidence of connections with groups that have been designated as terrorist
globally
organizations.
designated as terrorist.
Well, no,
organizations.
we just need to keep it in the United States.
That's true.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and they are in the US.
How'd you word that again? I'm sorry.
Oh, help me, girl.
Okay, okay. She's
Whereas-
speaking,
This is
but
a
I'm speaking, yeah.
this is a collaborative
Where-
effort.
Whereas there is documented
Evidence.
proof and evidence that numerous Islamic organizations
Proof and evidence
That, yeah,
that
numerous Islamic groups
yeah, we'd have to say groups.
Yep.
Have ties.
have been designated as terrorists, as having ties with terrorist organizations.
Well, yeah, yeah, how are we gonna say that? Let me see what is being read. I like to do it when I can type.
I know, see the words in front of you, I know,
looked at-
I know, because you can,
Yeah, you can see it really quick,
yeah.
but he's writing fast.
Yeah, so,
What
the
we got?
amendment, so the amendment, that's being proposed is, adding after, the current, whereas, the last whereas, we're adding a whereas in between there and the now therefore be it resolved, whereas documented proof and evidence that, that numerous Islamic groups, having, or that,
We don't even say-
whereas documented proof and evidence exists that there are numerous Islamic groups having ties with terrorist organizations. Is that it? Okay.
Well, we actually don't know numerous, but.
You want me to send you a few Jerusalem Post articles and I'll get you
Yeah.
numerous?
I mean,
Okay, we
Yeah,
got,
we don't-
we got numerous,
yeah.
okay, but,
Yeah.
whereas there is documented proof and evidence.
There is, okay, there is.
Yeah. Proof and evidence that numerous Islamic groups
Have,
have
not as having,
Yeah.
but have.
have ties with terrorist organizations.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty plain and clear, but they do, I mean, it's been proven, the imams that are
well,
speaking.
our government is designated.
Well, they're having a
You have an
huge event
addition?
right now.
No.
Oh, okay. So the proposed amendment is whereas there is documented proof and evidence that numerous Islamic groups have ties with terrorist organizations. That's the amendment. It'll need to be seconded in order to move
Or
forward.
did I?
Do we say organizations that have been designated as terrorists? Because it hasn't been by this country.
Numerous Islamic-
No, it's been, the United States government and the Texas government has declared that they have
Well,
connections.
all the US government does, and we're gonna take 75 days to figure out.
I know, but this is,
Yeah, in terms of a resolution, I think, and now this is just my opinion,
Yep.
but yeah, just ties with terrorist organizations. I
It's
think
simple.
in terms of simplicity. So we have this is the proposed amendment. Do we have a second on it?
Second.
Second from Mr. Beauchamp. Okay, all in favor say aye.
I,
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the amendment passes. So without rereading the entire resolution, we've added that clause in there. Is there any other amendments that need to be made? Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to regarding this particular resolution.
Oh,
I'll entertain any motion.
that
Oh.
we.
Accept, reject? Okay, we have a motion to
So
accept.
moved.
I
We-
second it.
Second by Narab. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So what's today, the 4th? December.
Do you want me to edit that into there before we sign it?
We can cut and paste on Adobe and stuff. So what we're doing is we're actually signing this resolution. We'll retype it, get all the signatures in there, and then this will get posted to our website, number one. It'll be posted on social media. Just as a
Thank you.
follow-up on this, I mean, you know, I know that we, you know, took some shots at the governor tonight. Some of them are that they're fair. You know, they're fair. But the fact that, you know, he did go out, was it 2 weeks ago, and declared CARE in the Muslim blood. CARE has been around since 9/11. We've been dealing with 9/11. A bunch of people went to jail in Dallas because of the Holy Land Foundation,
I
because
know.
they had direct ties to terrorists and what have you. And it's interesting to point out, the country of Saudi Arabia prints more Qurans than any other country in the world. How bad is it whenever Saudi Arabia is saying these people are nuts, you know, that they're crazy? Okay, so it's a strange world we live in. So anyway, thank you so much. Let's move on to our next item on the agenda. That's going to be the chairman's report. I'm going to try to be as brief as I can. Anyway, let me switch over to my notes here just a couple of things. We're in primary season. I mean, we have candidates that are here tonight. Just as a reminder that filing season started on September 9th for precinct and county chairs, and then filing season for all other offices began on November 8th. And the deadline for filing for a place on the Republican primary ballot is December 8th, 2025 at 6 p.m. By law, no other applications can even be physically received by the Marion County GOP or any political party after this date and time. That's a state law. As of tonight, at this meeting, all county office positions have had at least one person file, and some there is multiple. We only have one officially contested race right now, and that's for county treasurer. Now, just as a follow-up regarding primary season, if y'all remember in our last meeting, I mentioned that there was the Secretary of State training that was being held down in Austin. I went to that. We had county chairs from all over the state going over some of these changes in election law. As you can imagine, we didn't even get 5 minutes in and redistricting came up. Since that time, I have received 15 Secretary of State email updates, because what happened to that redistricting map? It went straight to court. There was a challenge on it. Democrats did a victory dance, and then another judge slapped it down and said no. And as of today, I just got an email that said push forward with the redistricting maps. Now, that doesn't affect Marion County, but there are some people that I know, like up in Bowie County, they got redistricted and what have you. And so it's been a nightmare having to put in candidates and stuff like that when you don't even know if those lines are even going to be there by the time the primary comes. And this could go up to the wire. So the training was very good. It helped to clarify a lot of changes in election law, especially with processing these applications that I've had to process for the last few weeks. Now, as some of y'all may have seen, and I posted this a few weeks ago, there have been some issues with the new filing system that the state switched to. In Jane Nelson's defense, okay, I know that Jane Nelson's catching a lot of flack because of closed primaries, but in her defense, this filing system was decided long before she was appointed as Secretary of State. As an IT professional, it's a disaster. It's not even what I call production ready. When I logged in, even this evening, to process one application, I logged in and the error message says failed to authenticate, but yet I'm in the system. So, having said that, I did post about that on our social media. I am continuing to check that system daily, because when I put in people for a place on the ballot and then I come back 48 hours later and see them missing, and I call the Secretary of State and they're like, well, they're back in there now. And I'm like, well, yeah, I just put them back in. Can you look at the logs? They're not doing that. So I've got some real issues with that. Other county chairs within Senate District 1 and across the state are pretty much up in arms about it, but we are pushing forward through it. Primary election itself, early voting is going to start, if you can believe this, on February 17th. That's just right around the corner. It ends on February 27th, so 10 days of early voting. And then March 3rd, of course, is the primary election day. Believe it or not, primary elections are not as heavily attended, members, and so we really need to get people pushed out there to vote in the primary because, well, we just heard one candidate mention tonight, voting history has, that's factoring into a race. And so, and I'm not saying that as for one or the other, I'm just saying as a statement of facts. So we really need to push that out. So make calls, reach out to people, and do that sort of thing. Now, there is going to be a candidate forum for Marion County candidates, also for those running for state rep, those running for judges, and what have you. That's going to be held in February. Tentatively, I'm shooting for possibly the week right before early voting starts. The reason why I'm doing that is my predecessor did that in 2024, and it worked out great. It was a great idea. It was fresh on everybody's mind. We all turned around and we started voting, a week late, not even a week later. And so we will make an announcement about that on our website, and we will set the date and the venue. Trying to get the venue. Most likely it will be in Jefferson. We're going to need a bigger place because I'm sure we're going to have a lot of people coming through. Candidate packets have been emailed out by myself to those who have already filed. In those packets are some helpful links like, how to get into a GOP data center and things of that nature. But one of the things, and I've sent it out to candidates, and I'm just going to mention it to all of you here, and those who are in the audience can take note. One of those links is called the Code of Fair Campaign Practices. It is a completely voluntary form to fill out. It is not required to run for office. But basically that document, and I'm just summarizing here, basically says that as a candidate, I will stick to, the issues and not attacking, personally. Okay. And so I filed one myself. My understanding is many of the candidates in Marion County have filled that out. They're not on the website yet. I've been told that should be updated by tomorrow. Okay. So that's going to be, if you go to the elections webpage, you go down to campaign transparency, and you're going to see those documents there, just like you see all of our campaign treasurer applications and what have you. So if candidates have, and we're going to post this recording now, so if candidates haven't filled that out yet, I'm highly encouraging them to do so and get that into the elections administrator. And let's see, I had one other point on filing. Did y'all have any questions about filing, about primary season and what to expect? I will say be prepared for, sometimes these candidates, when they come through an area, we get like maybe 48-hour notice or something like that. So just be flexible. We'll post that. Some of them may come through Jefferson. Some of them may be in, over in Marshall or in Longview or anything. I know, yesterday in Longview. So that's what's going to be going on there. But but so far, primary season, I can tell you, as far as from the chairman's position, has been operating smoothly. And here's my point. After December 8th, there will be a notice officially posted about the ballot draw. By state law, we have to do a ballot draw within 10 days. And that just determines the order. Now, for those of you who are sitting in the audience, anybody can come to that ballot draw because it's a public thing. We may even ask you to draw a ping pong ball out of a hat so we can determine numbers. It's a lot of fun, actually. So, but we'll have the venue on that. As of right now, however, yesterday at the elections, because remember we decided this at our last meeting, we said, hey, what places are we going to post official legal notices? At the courthouse, at the elections administrator's office, and today on our website and tonight on our social media, the official notice for a deadline to file is now posted. The requirement is it has to be no later than the day before the filing date, so we're good. And so that's out there. So if anybody's wanting to file, we do have a number of precinct chair seats that are open. But also, you know, for other offices, if you want to file, you know, you've got until December 8th. So that's it for my chairman's report. Any questions or comments or anything like that? Okay, how about precinct chair reports? Anybody have anything new to report in their precincts other than precinct chairs organizing political events and stuff like that?
No, I'm just.
Which was great.
Yeah, it was, I was very happy. I put on, it was my first political rodeo. And I got, yeah, it turned out really good. It's actually really fun to be politically active, frankly. I'm meeting great people. I mean, this is a way to meet people, meet Texans, is get involved in. What I'm planning on doing, since I'm a new precinct chair, I'm gonna get this, being rural, it's kind of hard to door knock, you know, and although we're gonna do some door knocking, but I'm going to get this simple texting app and put out a notice for people to opt in, tell them who I am. I'm your precinct chair. I'd love to get you updates about what's coming up on the election. Opt in and I will send you.
Great.
And what my intention is to let them know about the voting dates, but also let them know who's running. They don't even know there's a primary.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, you know, and so I was checking into that, simple texting.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do that because it's not expensive, but I can reach everybody. Because there aren't very many email addresses, it's mostly phone numbers.
Yeah.
When I go on the database.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, is hitting up the text message and stuff. Right? Yeah, no, that's great because it's about getting people. Again, primaries are not as heavily, you know, attended as general elections are and stuff, and we need people to turn out in primaries. And another reason to turn out in the primaries is because when you vote in the primary, you well, first of all, you qualify to go to convention. You can go to your precinct and your county convention, and that's where we work on a lot of the resolutions that go to the state party convention. They start right here and they go to the state convention. If they get ratified there, a lot of times those things they get translated into legislation, not necessarily word for word, but it's the impetus and stuff like that. For example, it was in the platform. It wasn't in the legislative priorities this time, but like school choice. Okay, that was a big thing that they pushed, whether you liked it or not. Some legislators' feet were held to the fire because of it. But that started at a precinct convention and went all the way up the chain. So I'm glad you're doing that. So that's awesome.
I figured because I'm going. First of all, it takes a lot of time for a phone call.
Yeah.
And I don't have all the phone numbers. So I'm going.
Just load them in and go.
You know, so I do the email. Email you can do more as far as including stuff. But how many people are going to read email?
No, they do it on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I figured texting's the way to go. I've got more phone numbers and emails, and I don't know about the others. I just have to figure out where they live or something.
Awesome. Anybody else got any updated news for their precinct? Well,
other than I wish we had a better map.
Well, that map that's on the website now is infinitely better than what it used to look like 3 years ago. Because I was like, you know, so okay. Well, our next item on the agenda then is is there any new business that we need to maybe have on our radar for our next meeting? I mean, other than what we've covered tonight.
Nope.
No. Okay. All right. Well, I believe that is just about it, and I believe that our next meeting, it looks like we're going to have it in January. In terms of it'll be well after the new year and what have you. Probably trying to shoot for probably the 22nd. You know, so, but yeah, I think we have it on there January 22nd, 2026. That is tentative. We will send out proper notice. So. With that being said, I have nothing else, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Is it seconded?
Second.
Second, okay. We are adjourned. Thank you for coming out, guys. Appreciate it.
Bravo on your
Hey.
resolution.
Hey, Hunter,
Yes.
on the candidate forum,
Yes.
don't do it on the Thursday the 12th.
No.
Okay, because it'll interfere with the hospital.
I'm just
district.
kind of shooting around.
No, I know,
You're at
but-
the hospital district.
Yes, so I can't, I need you to do it on the other.
No.